Sometimes you're leaking brake fluid and have absolutely no idea where it's going. This is not one of those times. It's coming out right here. Was a 1-inch impact overkill? Probably, but I don't want to have to fight with it. Well, you can see the outer jewel is flat by, well, just the general lack of hardness it has. Maybe I'll fix this while it's off. I did not have the patience to try and beat this tire off this morning. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put 2 lug nuts on very loose, and then just go for a little drive. See? Nice and loose. Now, I'm going to go for a little test drive just around the farm, and this is going to pop right off. Because I'm imagining I'm going to have to beat on this drum for 4 hours, so I don't want to spend the first hour beating on the wheel. Okay, so all I did was drive around the shop twice. She's nice and loose. That's an awesome tip for you. It'll save you a bunch of time when these things are really stuck on. Just put a couple lugs on loose and drive around for a couple circles. I mean, I went around the building twice. That's all it took. You guys are not going to believe this. It's loose. Will it slide off of there? Let's see. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe that just came off of there that easy. Now the most critical thing for me is not to damage anything, because I don't want to spend any money on this axle. Because if you'll notice, this one has yucky, old wrinkly drum brakes. And this axle has chain link fence parts and some foliage on it. But what it also has is calipers. That means this is a disc brake setup. Of course it's a heavier duty model. It's a 10 lug, but don't worry, because we've got tires and wheels that came with it, obviously. And somehow they've actually even got some tread on them. Sure, they're dry rotted, but much like the current axle, there's a spare right next to the other one, so not worried about that whatsoever. When am I going to install that other axle? I really don't know. I'd love to do it this winter. I don't know that I'm going to get to that. So for now, I'm just going to put a new wheel cylinder in here, get this thing to quit leaking, bleed the brakes, and then hopefully I've at least got some brakes. Step 1 of any good brake job is brake clean. Especially a situation like this where it has soaked the pads. I'm going to just thoroughly spray these brake pads. I'm sorry, these are shoes, not pads. I'm going to thoroughly rinse off these pads. Oh my goodness. I'm going to thoroughly rinse these shoes several times while I have it apart, just trying to get any brake fluid out of there. Because this gummy crap is not going to help it stop whatsoever. What I really want to do is cheat and just remove the lever here that runs the park brake and see if I can just slip the wheel cylinder out. It's held in by this 5/16 pin that runs all the way through. On the back side there's a 7/16, well it's a 5/16 now, but you need a 7/16 wrench to get it off. Come on. Come on out of there. You know you want to. There we go. Perfect. And now that it's out of the way, you can see we've got clear access to the wheel cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and probably break the line loose. So here we are on the back side. I'm going to break this line loose first. Hopefully not break it, and then take out the bolts. There's one here, one over here on the other side of the bleeder. It looks like this line has been replaced at some point. So hopefully that was like right before it was parked, and it's not going to twist off the second I put a wrench on it. If I was smart, I would have got back in here and sprayed some penetrating fluid or something like a week ago, because I knew I was going to do this. Well, that never happened. And you can see, yeah, the line's twisting with it, which is what we do not want. So I'm more or less just trying to flush out any grit that's in there. I'm realizing this is not going to do much at this point, especially since I'm going to be putting heat on it in about 30 seconds. Really just seeing if I can get out any loose chunks of sand or dirt, whatever, that could be right at the very edge of this line, and binding up between the line and the nut. If you recall, we've got that nice disc brake setup that's going to go on here. I really have no desire to put new brake lines on this axle before I pull it out. Alright, let's see if that did anything. Sometimes even just tapping the line will help. Or at least we pretend it does. So as I'm sitting down here heating it up, I realize, okay, this line only goes from right here to this junction block. It's a whopping 18 inches long at most. I heated it up 2 or 3 more times and said, forget it, I'm just going to twist it off because this is so easy to replace. And would you believe it? When I finally said forget it and just started wrenching on it, it broke loose. So I'm going to do this for about the next 2 minutes, spray a bunch more penetrating oil in there, and just keep slowly working it back and forth, and we might have got away without replacing that brake line. Well, I finally found the flashlight I've been looking for this whole time. There, is that a little better? You guys can actually see. I can actually see. So this wheel cylinder is completely disconnected now. Both of the bolts are removed, the line's removed. Let's see if we can just sneak it out of there. There we go. Tis removed. Just like that. One crusty wheel cylinder. So now I'm just going to take these plungers here, go hit them with the wire wheel, get them nice and cleaned up, and you can even see those, how wet this little tip looks where I pulled it out of the boot here. That's because they failed and they're just pouring brake fluid out the end here. If I pop off the dust cap, you can see how wet that is in there. That should be totally dry. New wheel cylinder installed. Obviously it was the exact opposite of what I did the first go around. Just got to put the brake lever, or the parking brake lever, back in now, and hose this out one last time, put the drum on, bleed the brakes, and we'll be good to go. I think one more and we'll be good. That was nice clear fluid that time. It's been a few weeks and you can see this side is completely bone dry. I believe we got that fixed with just the wheel cylinder, but look what happened over here. Yeah, I got the left side sealed up and now the right side blew out. Parts came in today. Let's go ahead and fix this side too. Well, at this point I've decided to go ahead and pull the front wheels off because somehow checking the front brakes would fix that leaking wheel cylinder. I don't know, this just seemed easier. So I wanted to inspect them anyway. Caliper is what you'd expect. So is this brake line. Looks a little crusty here-ish. The pads have well over ½ inch of material left, and the rotors are nice and smooth, so I don't really want to do anything up here at all. All I'm going to try and do is bleed the calipers. Hopefully that works. If not, we may end up with new calipers, at which point I'm also going to put front lines on. That's going to happen eventually either way. I just don't want to do it right now. By some miracle, that bleeder actually broke loose. So now we've got a brand new wheel cylinder back there, a free bleeder up here. If I can get that other side free, by the time I put the new wheel cylinder in that back other corner, I can bleed all 4 wheels. I was a little terrified when it went there that it snapped. New wheel cylinders installed. Didn't make too big of a mess. Wasn't that big a deal. Didn't break anything either. So all I've got in this so far for brakes is the 2 rear wheel cylinders, and we'll see if I can get by with that for now. Got a jug of brake fluid here. I'm going to top off the master cylinder. Probably get my brother over here in the morning. It's getting late tonight, and I'll bleed these 4 wheels. Put the tires back on, and hopefully it stops again without downshifting. There's an unfortunate turn of events here. I've got the new wheel cylinder installed, but you can see this line looks pretty wet. That's because I must have kinked it right here when I was taking the wheel cylinder out. Now right now it's currently smashed flat because I crimped it with the vice grip, so it quit dripping everywhere. I'm going to have to replace the line from the wheel cylinder all the way across the axle to the junction block over here. So I got the new brake line installed, and it went up over the pumpkin and down and around, and I even had it back here in the factory mount and had it all nice and curly cued all the way over to the wheel cylinder, and it looked beautiful, which was surprising because this line is 51 inches long because O'Reilly's go straight from 40 inches to 51. So it was about 6 inches long or so, and like I said, I had it in here beautiful except for the fact that the nut was still down here and I had all this bent all nice and perfect. So after unbending that, sliding the nut all the way to the end, and then, well, yeah, clearly I wasn't going to try and rebend this all. So I just kind of, you know, spaghettied it in here. Not nearly as pretty as the rest of it, but I don't really care either. Hold it. Now we're getting somewhere. Pump it up. Hold it. Alright, now that I got good clear fluid out of the right rear, I started here because it's the farthest away from the master. I'll go to the left rear, then I'll go to the right front, the left front, and I'll just keep making that circle until I'm getting nothing but clear fluid through the whole system. And that concludes the brake restoration video on the 95 F350. The brake adjuster on this side was stuck, the other side was free, so I adjusted that drum. This one I didn't because it's stuck, and like I said, I've got a different axle. I'm not braking something to where I have to then actually fix it. So let's assume that this works flawlessly. If not, there'll be more on the end of this video. But like I said, let's assume it works, because if you remember, there was foliage growing on that axle, and well, there's snow on the ground now, so it's been quite a while since the beginning of this video, and I'm really just over it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you stuck around this long, I can't believe it. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.